Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fading. Okay, I'll come back. I'll come back closer. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'll stay close by then.
And now, your forecast first from the CBS 17 Storm Team.
Well, the cold front has moved through. No, really, it has. It wasn't a strong one, but it is through, and we'll have a little bit of rain to talk about tonight. Good evening, I'm Wes Hohenstein. Just small chances, mainly down in the Sandhills for the next several hours before we dry out late tonight. And our temperatures will be a little bit cooler overnight, dropping into the low 80s late tonight after many of us didn't get out of the 80s today, and then some 70s as we head into the late evening hours. We've got a warm up for the weekend and some changes with the rain situation. I'll tell you about that a little later.
Now, local news that matters. This is CBS 17 News.
So I went down to see what they're about, and they're pretty awesome.
New at 5, why the city of Raleigh isn't so sure these new electric scooters all over town are so awesome.
Helicopter just pulled off. Apparently a 13 or 14-year-old kid caught fire.
A new warning tonight, the social media stunt that's sending young people to the burn center.
Are you guys having fun?
Plus the promotion that caused chaos in malls all over the country. But first, at 5, breaking news involving Michael Blake, one of the former troopers indicted in the assault of Kyron Hinton. CBS 17 is told law enforcement recordings may exist in connection to a physical confrontation claim against Blake from 2 years ago. Blake arrested Raphael Rogers in Cary back in 2016. Now media companies, including CBS 17, are asking the judge to release those recordings. When that happens, we'll bring you the very latest on air and online at CBS17.com.
But first, more than 60 years after the death of 14-year-old Emmett Till, the Department of Justice is reinvestigating the case. Good evening, I'm Angela Taylor.
And I'm Marius Peyton. Till, a black teenager, was brutally killed after a white woman, Carolyn Dunham, now of Raleigh, claimed the boy grabbed her. The DOJ is citing new information in the case, and this comes after a Duke professor's 2017 book.
CBS 17's Derek Lewis is live tonight in Durham. And Derek, you just heard from Professor Timothy Tyson.
I did, and he tells me that the death of Emmett Till is one of the most brutal and infamous murders that he knows about. He tells me about that moment that Carolyn Bryant confessed to him about lying. Now, Tyson released the book, The Blood of Emmett Till, in January 2017. It details the death of Till, a 14-year-old black boy who is known for being murdered after a white woman said he offended her at a grocery store in Mississippi in the 1950s. Now, in the book, that woman, Carolyn Bryant, admits in an interview with Tyson that she lied about what happened. Many people believe that confession is what prompted the Justice Department to reopen this case. Now, no one was charged in Till's death. Today, we stopped by Bryant's house in Raleigh, but denied a request for an on-camera interview. Now, Tyson says in that 2008 interview with Bryant, she feels what happened to Till was wrong.
And she said nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him. And, you know, I don't know her heart, and don't pretend to be able to read anybody's mind, but she did seem sorrowful about it. She did not tell me she was.
Now, Tyson says after releasing the book, the Justice Department subpoenaed all his research materials in the spring of 2017. Now, the NAACP is also speaking out about the Justice Department reopening this case and what that means for some African Americans. I'm working on that story for 6. Live in Durham, I'm Derek Lewis, CBS 17 News.
Derek, thank you. And stay with CBS 17 for the newest information on the Emmett Till investigation. Coming up at 6, what happened today when we tried to talk to the Raleigh woman at the center of this new investigation. Plus, why the DOJ was never able to make a case against the suspects in Tillis's murder.
We have new information tonight in the death of a Garner mom. The autopsy report on 24-year-old Faith Bevan finds her cause of death accidental overdose. Bevan's partially clothed body was found off Caddy Road back in March. Now, according to the autopsy, there were no injuries that caused or contributed to her death. Toxicology results show she did have drugs, including fentanyl, hydrocodone, and oxycodone in her system at the time of her death.
Last week, 28 teens and 8 chaperones boarded a plane headed to Haiti to do volunteer work. But right now, half that group is headed back here. The others arrived early this morning. The missionary group cut their trip short after protests broke out in Haiti's capital. The high school students only spent about 2 days with the Haitian Vacation Bible School program. They're grateful for the experience, and the parents are happy their kids are safe.
We were worried.
Definitely.
I think I have had more text messages on my phone than I've ever had in my life the past 3 or 4 days. People just worried about my son and his other friends.
With I could see the smoke of the burning tires, and I could smell it obviously. But I definitely want to go back and help out because I didn't get to fully, but I got a taste of it, so I definitely want to go back and help out those kids. Really nice kids.
Oh, without any delays or weather issues, the group's 2 returning flights should arrive just before 6 and midnight. If there is something you want CBS 17 to get answers about, let us know. Call the newsroom at 919-835-NEWS, or you can send an email at newstips@cbs17.com.
Mayhem at the mall. Thousands of moms showed up at malls from coast to coast, ready to take advantage of today's Pay Your Age promotion at Build-A-Bear. CBS 17's Lauren Haviland, in the middle of it all, joins us now live from Crabtree Valley Mall. And Lauren, I guess you can say Build-A-Bear was overwhelmed by the response today.
Yes, and not only Build-A-Bear, but Crabtree Valley Mall also very overwhelmed by the response. I did speak with mall officials. They tell me they definitely expected a crowd, but nothing like this. At one point this morning, the line wrapped around most of the first floor. Many people tell me they got in line for one-day promotion around 8 o'clock this morning and then waited several hours before getting into the store. Mall officials say they brought in extra staff, including security guards, to help keep the people under control and in line.
I didn't expect this many people. We got here at 8 o'clock in the morning so that we'd be here a bit early, and it was crowded. It was insane. They handled it fantastically, though.
But not everyone is walking away with a stuffed animal. Build-A-Bear cut off the line in Raleigh before noon, giving people a voucher for $15 off their next purchase. So we are on the first floor of Crabtree Valley Mall, back live for you, and take a look at this line. It is still wrapped around the first floor of this mall. There is an end in sight, but some of these people have been here since 8 o'clock in the morning, and they tell me they have waited this long, and so they're not leaving without a stuffed animal. Live in Raleigh, Lauren Haviland, CBS 17 News.
Lauren, thank you. Those persistent moms. And we have to give a shout out to Fayetteville mom Leslie McFadden and her 8-month-old daughter Alexis. They left Cross Creek Mall bearless after waiting in line for 2 hours today.
Oh, maybe someone can donate one to them. Well, the odor from the landfill is again causing people to complain in parts of Wake County. Right now, 2 areas of the landfill's gas collection system that helps control the smell are not working at peak efficiency. The county hopes to have it fixed by tomorrow. New tonight, we can tell you the county has signed contracts to expand the gas collection system, and that work should start next month.
A new fox warning tonight, this time in Garner. An aggressive gray fox bit someone last night along New Rand Road. Now police and animal control are trying to find the animal to see if it has rabies. If you see a fox near New Rand Road in Garner, you're asked to call 911. If you remember, on Friday, a Raleigh woman killed a rabid fox after it bit her in the Fountain Drive neighborhood. Shalane Rodriguez says she was walking her dog when she spotted the fox. She tried to run away but fell, and that's when she was bitten.
Crews spent hours digging a toy poodle out of a storm drain in Charlotte. The 5-week-old puppy fell 6 feet into the drain. Look how tiny it is. The city had to shut the water off to 2 homes while crews worked.
But she's a trooper. I mean, she's so tough. If she weren't so tough, trying to chase out of the dog, she wouldn't be in the hole. Right, baby?
Oh, my goodness. That puppy was a gift to the family's mother, who recently had surgery.
You can now get around Raleigh on a rented electric scooter. You can find Bird brand scooters downtown in Cameron Village and the Oberlin neighborhood. But tonight, CBS 17's Michael Hyland is getting answers. It seems the scooter company may not have all the permits it needs to rent scooters right here in Raleigh. Michael, look like you're having fun.
Yeah, we just picked this one up right outside Raleigh City Hall, and even though people like me are already zipping around town in these, the city says the company never coordinated with them about getting the necessary permits or approvals.
In Raleigh, you might say bird is the word.
That was so cool.
Layla Mustafa and Jacob Fuller tried out these new scooters that just arrived in the city.
Yeah, it was easy to locate, and I thought it was gonna be hard to balance on it, but that was pretty easy.
A company called Bird owns them. Once you download the app, you use GPS to find a scooter. Then you scan this code on the scooter and scan your driver's license. You pay $1 up front and then 15 cents a minute.
I liked it. It goes faster than I thought it would. So it was a little scary at first, but it's just like a regular scooter.
Raleigh city leaders still have questions about this. They say the company didn't coordinate with them and didn't get any permits or approvals. That's an issue in other cities too. In Indianapolis, for example, the city even sent the company a cease and desist letter. Right now, you can leave the scooters anywhere when you're done. Cities are trying to figure out how to regulate them, especially as they catch on.
So this might save you some time during the day getting around?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Bird hopes these will cut down on traffic, too, providing an alternative to getting around congested parts of the city.
And we just saw a couple more people go by. Bird says it offers to share some of its revenue with local governments that allow it to operate. But when I asked a Raleigh city spokesman about that, he said he hadn't heard anything about that from the company. Coming up new at 6, I'll tell you where else you may be finding these soon here in the Triangle. Live in Raleigh, Michael Hyland, CBS 17 News.
I saw some of those just this weekend. Hey, when you need the fire department, there is an expectation that the firefighters have some training. In North Carolina, volunteer fire departments are not required to have certified firefighters. And as CBS 17 investigative team has discovered, background checks are not required either. CBS 17's investigative reporter Richard Essex has the details.
Of the 52,000 firefighters in the state fire marshal's office says about 35,000 are volunteers. So if you don't live in a big city or a well-developed suburb, chances are your house, your home, and property are going to be protected by a volunteer fire department. So when a volunteer fireman shows up at your house, what do you know about him?
The recruitment retention is very difficult. And it's very time consuming when you have a 3 or 4 hour meeting once or twice a week.
Coming up on CBS 17 at 6 o'clock, we take a closer look at the 10 volunteer firemen accused of arson. For CBS 17 News investigators, I'm Richard Essex, CBS 17 News.
A new home today for Sergeant Anthony Von Cannon and his family. Operation Homecoming handed over the keys to the new home in Raleigh. Sergeant Von Cannon was injured during a rocket attack in Afghanistan and suffered injuries to his back, neck, and hip. The former paratrooper now has titanium rods in his leg and hip and is 100% disabled status by the VA.
My battalion's motto was Duco and DK, which means influence everywhere. On the battlefield we did. And John, thank you for your influence to this home.
How cool is that? Yeah. Operation Coming Home is a joint volunteer project that builds homes for wounded combat vets that served in the Middle East. And of course, we thank him for his service.
And enjoy that new house. Thousands of local teachers skipped school in May to get the attention of state lawmakers.
Next at 5, we're getting answers to find out if the teacher rally worked.
All right, we're tracking a few storms tonight, most of them to the south like we had talked about, but these are really to the south. In fact, most out of our area. This all around the cold front. I'll update you on where that is and more importantly, where the cooler temperatures are in your forecast.
There's evidence of rubbing alcohol on the countertop. I found a lighter.
And a dangerous new stunt is gaining popularity on social media. Why firefighters say it is just a bad idea. A very serious warning tonight. A 12-year-old Spartanburg preteen is recovering from burns on over 40% of his body. Fire officials say the boy was copying a dangerous challenge he'd seen on social media. Now, we want to warn you, some of these images and video are very disturbing.
As I understand it, it's where you put rubbing alcohol on your body and set it on fire. This is a very, very poor decision.
Very poor decision. Rubbing alcohol, obviously very flammable, and when lit on fire can reach up to 1,000 degrees. Why would you do that? The boy's burns cover nearly 40% of his body. He's currently being treated in Georgia, and the burn center says this is not the first burn case they've seen because of this challenge, if you can believe that. Yeah. No, bad idea. On May 16th, thousands of people rallied at the state capitol to demand North Carolina lawmakers provide more funding for education, but did it work?
That's the question many people are asking, so CBS 17 investigative reporter Felicia Bolden tracked down that answer.
Despite
not receiving the education funding and the specific teacher raises many protesters wanted and the state budget, the president of the North Carolina Association of Educators says the rally did work. Here's why. President Mark Jewell says the purpose of the rally was to raise awareness of the lack of funding for public schools. During the rally, nearly 30,000 educators, parents, and community members came together on behalf of their students. He says although they had a long list of demands and changes they wanted to see, the rally was just the beginning of their movement.
This was all about accountability. This is a 6-month stretch. This wasn't a short session thinking that we were going to get a huge list of wins there. This was about making awareness to the public.
Jewell says their next step is to bring in NCAE presidents, vice presidents, and officers next week to Raleigh for training. They plan to run advertisement campaigns to further bring attention to the problem and will be turning their attention to the November election. Jewell says they will be going door to door registering voters and canvassing communities to get people to support candidates who want more funding for schools. At the answer desk for the CBS 17 investigators, I'm Felicia Bolton.
All right, Felicia, thank you very much. Let's talk about the cold front. I promise you it really did come through. We got the rain to the south like we thought. Temperatures cooled off some, but the humidity didn't go down as much, and that's what everyone felt today. We will start with the radar, and as you can see, there's a few showers and thunderstorms popping up in southern Sampson County. There's a couple storms south of our area, closer to South Carolina, but really most of our area is dry. It's mostly cloudy and it's in the 80s, but we are also mostly dry and mostly muggy outside. 87 in Rocky Mount. Nick's up to 88 in Durham, same thing down in Dunn and in Fayetteville. Remember, most of us were in the 90s the last couple of days, so this is welcome. What would really be welcome, though, some lower humidity. But that has not come down yet. It will come down a little bit, and I do mean a little bit, as we head into tomorrow. For tonight, we'll drop down to 83 at 8 o'clock with just a small chance of a few scattered showers and storms. Clouds will pretty much stick around. We'll go completely dry midnight and beyond. And then you walk out the door on Friday morning to work and school with temperatures about 69 degrees. So we've made it through a full work week after the holiday last week. So here's the deal with the humidity. Remember, we focused right on the dew point to get the relationship to the humidity levels. And the higher the dew point, the higher the humidity. And today it actually went up some more into the low 70s, and that's exactly what it feels like, a steam bath out there. Remember earlier this week it was way down here, so tomorrow we expect it to come down some, but not drastically. So there's the front. I drew it out for you just so the proof. You weren't thinking I was crazy. I mean, it did move through, but the real cool air and the real low humidity is still way up there. So the clouds and storms focused around this front, mainly to our south, and that's where they will stay for the most part tomorrow. So it'll still be warm tomorrow, mid and upper 80s, and it'll be mostly dry as high pressure tries to nudge everything out of here. And it'll be successful as we head into the weekend. We're looking at a mostly dry weekend, but also temperatures are going to start to get back into the low 90s. And then they're really going to get into the low 90s early next week. High pressure sets up offshore. Typical summer pattern, right? So we get that flow from the south that cranks in the 90s and the higher humidity, and the high pressure is far enough away where we get some afternoon storms popping up. So that's pretty much the forecast a lot of next week. But we also have another cold front approaching us next week. It'll be later in the week. I'll show you on the 7-day just a second, but this will be the 3rd July cold front. That's about 3 more than we normally get the whole month. So here's what we've got for tomorrow. After highs today in the mid and upper 80s, will be about the same tomorrow, maybe a degree or 2 hotter. And that would be about 89 down in Cumberland County, 87 in Harnett County, 87 also in Sanford. Over in Johnston County, Smithfield at 87, Benson at 88. Rain chances only 10% tomorrow, and that's probably along the I-95 corridor. We'll stick with 87 in Wilson and Rocky Mount. Along the Virginia border, look for highs in the mid-80s. And again, about 86 or 87 here in the Triangle. So that's your Friday forecast, meaning after that is the weekend. So here's a sneak peek at the weekend. Again, I said mostly dry, only 10 and 20% chances of rain. 89 on Saturday, 92 on Sunday. And because it'll be humid as well, I think that heat index will be mid to upper 90s on Sunday. So again, your 7-day forecast will take us from 87 tomorrow up to 89 Saturday, 92 on Sunday, and then we pretty much lock into the low 90s next week. You see the rain chances about 30 and 40%. And again, another cold front right now scheduled Wednesday into Thursday. Don't know if it's going to drop us drastically, but we don't reject cold fronts in July. Coming up in the next half hour, we're going to talk tropics. We got some new news maybe on the long-term activity this year for the hurricane season.
All right, Wes, thanks so much.
We will be back after the break.
Ten states have joined together to look at the way fast food companies prevent employees from leaving to work at other stores in the same chain.
Consumer investigator Steve Sprazia is digging deeper tonight into fast food hiring restrictions.
The person who cooks your burger or makes your donut may be stuck in that job, not because they can't get another one, but because there's a clause in their hiring agreement which keeps them from going elsewhere.
There are two ways that fast food companies lock in employees. One is with a no poaching agreement, the other with a non-compete agreement. Companies say they're necessary.
A lot of employers argue that they spend a lot of money and resources training workers, for example, and these are skills that a worker can take elsewhere.
Attorneys general from 10 states are now going after these 8 fast food chains, demanding to know how these companies use non-compete or non-poaching contracts. Investigators believe as many as 80% of fast food workers are covered by these agreements, and the workers may not even be aware the agreement exists.
Non-compete agreements, they're often buried in a worker's hiring contract, so a worker might not even know that he or she has signed one of them. The no poaching agreements, they can often be just implicit agreements between two executives who have spoken over coffee or over emails.
Studies show the fast food industry is not the only one using these agreements.
They're really just used all over the place. Fast food workers, even volunteers, many minimum wage workers.
Congress is considering several bills to limit these kinds of agreements, and the investigation by the 10 states may also have an effect.
Is this some sort of legal action that is likely to succeed?
we will see some states successfully pass legislation banning them, or we might see these companies voluntarily get rid of them as a means to just avoid the negative publicity.
McDonald's, which is one of the biggest fast food chains in the country, has already done that. It stopped using non-poaching agreements back in 2017 after being sued by its employees. For the investigators, I'm Steve Sprazier, CBS 17 News.
Learn something new every day. Very interesting, Steve. Thank you. Still ahead at 5:30, new developments in the arrest of Stormy Daniels, the adult actress caught up in a lawsuit against the president.
Plus,
and that's the only memory that I had is my son just laying there.
A mother coping with the loss of her son hopes to use his memory and determination to help others in need.
Covering local news that matters. This is CBS 17 News.
That's what Corbin wanted to do, and I want to see his dream come to life.
A grieving mother shares the dream of a son killed 2 years ago by a Raleigh homeowner.
As CBS 17's David Hurst reports, Corin Rodney Thomas's mom is trying to live out her son's legacy by making that dream a reality.
You can still hear the pain in Simone Butler Thomas's voice as she relives the moment her son was shot and killed.
And that's the only memory that I had is my son just laying there. As much as he helped others, there was nobody to help him.
20-year-old Corin Rodney Thomas was killed in August of 2016 in front of a home on Single Leaf Lane. This past February, a jury found Chad Copley guilty of murder. He's spending the rest of his life in prison after shooting the unarmed 20-year-old from his garage.
Every time he leaves me, he tells me he loves me. And he always gives me a hug and always says, "I love you, Mama." And before he left, he said, I'm going to be big. And I'm going to take care of you.
Thomas's mother says her son had dreams of opening a transitional home for single dads with kids. The 20-year-old got the idea after seeing his brother try and raise 6 children as a single father.
And he used to tease him and say, "Man, there'll be no place for you to go if you ever got on the street with them kids."
Butler Thomas is now working towards opening that home in her son's honor.
It makes me feel a little better that if this succeeds, his death won't be in vain, but there's nothing, there's nothing that can make me feel better. There's nothing, you know. The only thing that can make me feel better is just to have him back, and I know that's not going to happen.
In Raleigh, David Hirsch, CBS 17 News.
And Butler Thomas is currently trying to raise money for that home. If you're interested in donating or learning more, you can visit our website, cbs17.com.
As we mentioned earlier, for Chad Copley, he's currently serving a life sentence in prison. A Wake County jury convicted the 41-year-old of first-degree murder. His attorneys told CBS 17 they're appealing that conviction.
All right, let's talk about weather. Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein tracking potential storms that could impact your evening drive. Ooh, Wes, I hope it doesn't rain because traffic's already a mess out there.
No rain there. Yeah, that's a mess. The only rain we have, showers and thunderstorms down in the far southern part of our viewing area, southern Sampson County. There's Garland, there's Ivanhoe. This is west of I-40. You can see a few heavy downpours with thunder and lightning in your area. But most of the storms, as I widen out, boy, look at our friends down along the coast. They are just getting hammered. Heavy rain. Look at all the lightning just west of Wilmington. That's plenty of rain there. There's also one little thunderstorm coming out of Virginia. That's going to mosey on into Northampton and Halifax County a little later. But I think the bigger story today, after a high of 96 yesterday, today's high was only 86, but it's still muggy, cloudy, and we'll keep small chances of rain in for the next few hours as we drop through the low 80s. Then drying out late tonight with plenty of dry weather ahead for the weekend. We'll look at that and another July cold front on the 7-day a little later.
Wes, thank you. Holding the powerful accountable. That phrase is echoing across Johnston County tonight after CBS 17 got word a magistrate judge stands accused of using a work computer to dig up personal information on people. CBS 17's Robert Richardson is getting answers and showing you why this suspected breach of trust isn't going unnoticed.
The Johnston County Chief Magistrate told me no comment on this case, and the attorney for the judge-turned-defendant didn't return my calls. Investigators are saying little about what Velity Foy Bird is accused of doing, but I wanted to know about the possibilities.
We have access to a lot of information. We can put a lot of information into the system. It's very important that these are kept confidential.
Magistrates like Wake County Chief Dexter Williams handle things like probable cause and hearing low-level misdemeanors and worthless check cases.
Whether you're a district court judge, a superior court judge, or whether you're in the Court of Appeals, it's the public trust that makes the system work.
The State Bureau of Investigations and Johnston County Sheriff say Foy Bird broke that trust, using her passwords to pull up personal information on particular people. I found out 2 of the 3 were arrested during the reported time of the crime, but investigators aren't saying why Foy Bird might have looked at their records. Williams says all searches are recorded.
We are selecting a reason. Why are we getting on the computer, which they keep a copy of every time we go in.
His staff does this thousands of times a month, and Williams admits violations could be hard to catch without a complaint.
The number one safeguard is the integrity of the person involved in the office.
The John Locke Foundation is a North Carolina watchdog group which hopes to hold government accountable. Mitch Kokai says this case could be a warning to other magistrates.
To say, look, you have the access, but you need to follow the rules, and if you don't, you're going to end up charged like this person.
Robert Richardson, CBS 17 News.
Robert, thank you. On Capitol Hill, members of Congress are clashing over the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. The ongoing controversy surrounding immigration has sparked protests across the country calling for ICE to be abolished. And with some Democrats drawing up legislations to disband the department, some Republicans are pushing a resolution to support the investigative unit.
Last year, our ICE agents confiscated about 1 million pounds of drugs. You want more drugs in your school? Get rid of ICE.
ICE is an agency that is a rogue agency out of control with no accountability or transparency.
Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy says ICE is also key to fighting human trafficking and removing violent criminals from the country. The Department of Homeland Security says it has reunited 57 young migrant children with their families. A judge had ordered DHS to reunite the children under 5 by relatives by this week. Let's go to Washington and CBS 17's White House correspondent Mark Meredith. And Mark, are these kids still separated from their families?
Maurice, the administration says this is the youngest group of kids, those under the age of 5, that have been reunited, most of them for that matter, 57 like you were just talking about. But there are still thousands of kids that are still waiting. And when I say kids, we're talking about people under the age of 18, between that 5 to 18-year-old range, that are still waiting to find out what's going to happen to them.
I'm very worried about the numbers. I'm not sure they're accurate.
New Mexico Senator Tom Udall says Congress needs more proof the Trump administration has fully complied with a court order to reunite the youngest migrant children with their parents. Homeland Security reports that of the 103 kids under the age of 5 once in its custody, 57 are now back with their parents. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says the others could not be returned to the adults who brought them here, some for their own safety.
We've saved kids' lives by keeping them from being with some really evil people, some of them, or keeping them with people who are not their parents.
But for some others, the rest of the family has already been deported.
But Senate Democrats aren't buying it. They want Azar to explain in testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee.
I find this to be a disaster. I find it unacceptable. There's no transparency.
Udall says he remains worried about the thousands of migrant children between 5 and 18 years old that remain in HHS's care.
And that is going to be the big question, is how soon will some of those other kids that are still in HHS's custody how long will it take for them to get back to where their families may be? We've reached out to the administration trying to get a better idea of that timeline, but right now the administration is simply sticking with the numbers they put out today with those kids that are under the age of 5. Maurice?
Mark, thank you.
In our 3 things you need to know, nearly half a dozen local high school students have returned home from Haiti. A lot of happy parents there. The rest are scheduled to come home tonight. The youth group's mission trip was disrupted by rioting over fuel prices in Port-au-Prince. The students traveled to the island nation to help with a Bible school program.
Chapel Hill police continued to search for a gunman responsible for a late-night shooting on MLK Boulevard. Investigators say one person was shot multiple times just before 11. Paramedics rushed him to the UNC hospital for treatment. No word on his condition. Officers do not believe this crime was random and do not think there's a threat to the community. If you have any information about the case, you're asked to call 911.
The NTSB released more information about what caused a state highway patrol helicopter to crash last month in Wake County. Investigators say the pilot failed to unhook a transporter clamp before taking off. According to that report, Trooper R.M. Cawley and his passenger Clinton Stone got about 5 feet in the air when that chopper came back down. They escaped with just minor injuries.
Pilots with the State Highway Patrol's aviation unit are credited with helping Wake County deputies find a missing woman this week. Pilot DJ Cianfara and Trooper B.K. Jones helped track down Yulin Yang after she wandered from home early Wednesday morning. It took about 20 minutes to find the 79-year-old. She's home and safe right now.
Federal prosecutors slammed the state prison system for failing to keep track of prescription drugs given to inmates. U.S. Attorney's Office said investigators found at least 88 incidents of medical staff failing to document how controlled substances were dispensed and disposed of. Prosecutors say those lapses occurred during the last 2 years of former Governor Pat McCrory's administration and took place at Central Prison and the North Carolina Correctional Center for Women. Those are both in Raleigh. The Public Safety Department agreed to pay a $190,000 penalty.
A veteran sickened by contaminated water at Camp Lejeune is calling on Congress to take action. Peggy Price says being exposed to toxic chemicals at the North Carolina Marine Base led to her health problems, including breast and skin cancer, a brain tumor, and open heart surgery. She hopes congressional Democrats and Republicans will do more to protect Americans from pollution and toxic chemicals.
It's not just Camp Lejeune, it's a lot of the military bases, and I hope they get cleaned up.
Researchers say chemicals linked to birth defects and other medical issues were found at military bases and public facilities nationwide.
It's a tale of 2 different businesses when it comes to stopping crime on the job.
Yes, one gets fired while the other might end up with a promotion. Plus, tracking sharks in the Atlantic, a closer look at why one great white's recent journey is getting a lot of attention this week.
Plus, a lawyer for adult film star suing President Trump isn't holding back about his client's surprising arrest.
It is the most infamous civil rights case in the history of this country.
Plus, tonight at 6, new developments in the 1955 Emmett Till murder case. We explain how the investigation into the teen's killing is connected to Raleigh in our next half hour. President Trump is in the UK tonight for the second leg of his European tour.
Trump, who's been critical of England, was met with resistance as people lined up to protest his visit to London. But it's his stop in Brussels that continues to rattle other European leaders. While NATO allies agreed to increase spending in the military by 2024, President Trump demanded not only more money, but for the spending to happen a lot faster.
The commitment was at 2%. Ultimately, that'll be going up quite a bit higher than that. So we made a tremendous amount of progress today.
But French President Emmanuel Macron denied that there are any new commitments, only the previous agreement to reach 2% of spending by 2024.
Another strange chapter in the saga of Stormy Daniels. The adult actress who's suing the president was arrested last night while performing at a strip club in Columbus, Ohio. Daniels was charged with 3 counts of touching 3 undercover officers in the club. Her attorney says those misdemeanor charges have been dropped. Still, he believes the whole thing smells like a setup.
I have reason to believe that it was politically motivated. There's no question that these officers were undercover at that strip club. They knew that my client was going to be performing there, and I find this to be a complete waste of resources.
Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, is suing President Trump and his former lawyer, Michael Cohen. She claims she had a sexual relationship with Trump back in 2006 and was paid to keep quiet about it in the days leading up to the 2016 election.
Academy Sports is facing backlash after firing a Florida manager that some are calling a hero. Police say the Tallahassee man managed to tackle a suspect who was trying to steal a gun. But the outdoor retailer says it fired Dean Crouch for violating store policy, which prohibits employees from touching customers. Shoppers, however, say Crouch did the right thing.
Sometimes you have to compromise your policies just to
the guy was trying to do something right.
Some area companies have reached out to Crouch to offer him a job in wake of what happened.
I had to put 2 hands on the gun to show him, like, I'm serious, you need to go.
Oh, have you seen this video? The reaction was the exact opposite for a Milwaukee restaurant employee who pulled out a gun to protect her boss. Surveillance caught the moment as George Webb manager got punched by an angry customer. Do you see that? Miranda Schaefer, who works as a server, pulled out her gun and scared off the guy. I mean, look at that. There she goes. He just backs away. It was just a day prior to this that the owner of the restaurant allowed Schaefer to bring her gun to work for safety. That suspect that punched her is still on the loose.
The historic Twin Towers at one of Cape Canaveral's most storied launch sites is no more. With the push of a button, explosives reduced the mobile gantries and fixed towers at Launch Complex 17 into rubble and dust this morning. They were demolished nearly 7 years after the complex last hosted a launch when a Delta II rocket flew from Florida with a pair of lunar probes. And we're getting a lot of insight into shark behavior this week after a great white made a U-turn off of our coast.
As Storm Team meteorologist Bill Ray explains, this might mean more than just a detour on the shark's yearly migration up and down the eastern seaboard.
A great white shark in her mid to late 20s has been going from Nantucket in Massachusetts all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico on her yearly migration. The shark is known as Miss Costa, and it was tagged in 2016 by the shark tracking group OSearch. For the past month, Miss Costa's been coming up the Carolina coastline just offshore, but suddenly last week, the 1,700-pound shark made a right turn, then a U-turn, and went out into deeper waters. This is where she was last pinged. After being caught, measured, and tagged, sharks need to surface for at least 90 seconds so the tag is dry and can send pings for its location. OSearch says they've seen other mature female sharks make a similar move in the past, and sometimes those females have turned out to be pregnant. Little is known about great white shark mating and reproduction, and an actual birth has never been observed in the wild. Now, only time will tell if Miss Costa is indeed pregnant. Hey, if you want to track Miss Costa, we have a link on our website where you can follow along, and she also has her own Twitter page, @MissCostaShark. Bill Ray, CBS 17 News.
Only in the South do we call killer tiger shark, white sharks, great white sharks, whatever they are, miss something, right? All right, back to the radar we go because we have some missed storms out there. This is southern part of our viewing area. This is down in Sampson County. There's Ivanhoe, there's Garland. I-40 is right over here. So these are heavy rain showers producing some thunder and lightning, but only for a fraction of our area. Now we go way back to the north up into Virginia. There's the state line. There's I-95. Little thunderstorm there kind of riding right down south on I-95. Going to be moving into parts of Northampton and Halifax County. Other than that, I know there's clouds out there, but there is no other rain showers to keep an eye on right now. Temperatures did cool off today, although it wasn't a comfortable and cool day, was it? This Thursday had highs in the 80s, and that's where many of us sit right now, but the humidity stayed high even though that front came through. And as that front continues to sit to our south, we will leave just a stray shower or storm in the forecast for the next few hours as we'll slowly fall to the low 80s. Clouds are going to stick around. We'll be dry, though, by midnight with temperatures in the mid-70s. And it'll be technically a little cooler tomorrow morning, but only by a couple degrees. I don't think you're going to feel it, but just keep that in mind as you start your Friday. 69 degrees is what will greet you when you walk out the door. So today being Thursday, remember, we always get a new drought map, and I just wanted to quickly update you. Not a big change, but drought has crept back into our state's forecast. So 10% of the state is in a drought this week, up from the 7% that was in a drought last week. And we do have some more rain coming next week, but first, this cold front has to move all the way through, and then this area of high pressure will bring us some drier weather as we head into the upcoming weekend. More on that in just a second, but let's spend some time talking about the tropics. Chris is no longer an official tropical system, plus it is way, way far away from us now. But the National Hurricane Center is still keeping an eye on this area of disturbed weather that's the leftovers of Beryl, still saying there's a 50% chance of developing, but as you can see, it is going to stay away from the East Coast. And one of the things we look at in July to give us an idea of what's going to happen the rest of the hurricane season are the trade winds in the Caribbean. Sounds fancy, but it's really not. And here's your proof. We've got an index that was released this week of the current trade winds. And in this index, you see there's the United States, there's the Caribbean, South America, there's the Atlantic Ocean. Orange means higher than average trade winds. And when you have that in July, it usually means the rest of the season is going to be pretty calm. So there's an indication that the rest of the season might not be as busy. Doesn't mean we're not going to get anything, but we could see lower totals than what we would on an average season. Meanwhile, back here at home in your 7-day forecast, we'll stay in those 80s tomorrow, but we creep close to the 90s this weekend. You see also generally dry weather, but we get into next week and we up those rain chances to 30 and 40 percentage points. And we've got another cold front next Wednesday. So our 3-degree guarantee high tomorrow is 87. Today we made 86. And after forecasting 87, that's another $100 from us and our friends at Allen Kelly Heat and Air. Going to Made for Me, and our monthly total now up to $1,100. We've told you all month long how they take cardboard and make furniture for special needs kids. You always wonder, well, cardboard, that's not very strong. You're wrong. Look at that cardboard holding up an SUV, a full-size SUV, more than 5,000 pounds. So this cardboard is not something you want to mess around with, and we will show you throughout this month how they turn that cardboard into these life-changing pieces of furniture for special need kids and their families.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah, I just
Very
had a lot
impressive.
of moving boxes with
Tells a great
cardboard,
story,
and now I'm like blowing my mind. Wes, thanks.
All righty.
We'll be right back.
To expand to other cities here.
That's perfect because I can see full body shot.
I'll use this as my stop line.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
New at 5:30, the Department of Justice just announced it's appealing a lower court ruling that allowed communications giant AT&T to merge with Time Warner. A federal judge approved the $85.4 billion deal just last month, saying the merger was legal.
It's not every day you hear of animal control officers being called in as part of a fire investigation.
That's because it wasn't matches or faulty electrical wiring that sparked the blaze in Springfield, Oregon. The culprits were a drone and two dogs, and the whole thing was caught on camera. Cameron Austin Connolly was out getting footage with his drone when he was approached by two dogs who weren't on a leash. The distraction led to the drone crashing to the ground and bursting into flames. No one was hurt, but the fire did destroy Cameron's $300 drone. Ooh. Still, he doesn't totally blame the dogs.
I'm definitely going to be more cautious in the future on where I choose to fly, and I'm going to look into a fire extinguisher I can bring with me as well.
That would be a good idea. Despite leash law violations, the owners of the dogs will not be charged.
You can't blame
them.
them.
The immediate thought was, what's next? Like, what else could you possibly throw off of there?
Oh, man, a bit of chaos in D.C. as neighbors find themselves ducking and running for cover after someone started throwing giant chess pieces from the roof of an apartment building. This is so weird. D.C. police believe 4 suspects launched them into the street 11 stories below, smashing car windshields. No one was hurt, thankfully, but police say the suspects will face vandalism charges once they are caught. What a waste of chess, right?
Yes, very much so. Still ahead at 6, you may have noticed people zipping around on scooters in some areas of Raleigh, but city leaders say there's a problem with that, and they're looking for a solution. We're going to explain the issue more at 6.
I'll tell you later.
Covering local news that matters. This is CBS 17 News.
It's one of the most notorious racial incidents of racial violence in the history of the world. This is one of the very first of what we would call a media circus.
A breaking news update, 63 years in the making. Tonight we're learning new information about a decades-old murder case with a connection to Raleigh. We're talking about the story of Emmett Till.
The feds are taking another look at the teen's 1955 Mississippi murder, and it's what's inside a Duke professor's book that may have led them back to Till's case. CBS 17's Derek Lewis spoke to that professor today.
Derek, what does he have to say about this new development?
During a news conference, author Tim Tyson talks about the moments that Carolyn Bryant admitted to him that she lied in court about that encounter with Emmett Till. Today, I also talked to a member of the NAACP who says relaunching this investigation does not really mean much.
It really doesn't change anything because we always knew that she lied.
Irvin Joyner with the NAACP reacts to the news that the U.S. Justice Department is reopening the investigation into Emmett Till's death. Till, a 14-year-old black boy, died in 1955 after two white men murdered him in Mississippi. In court, Carolyn Bryant said Till offended her at a grocery store, which led to his death. In 2008, Bryant admitted to author Tim Tyson that she lied.
She said nothing that boy did could ever justify what happened to him.
That revelation did no more than confirm what people always knew. People in Mississippi knew it. People in Chicago knew it, and we knew it all over the country.
Tyson put the interview in his book, The Blood of Emmett Till, released in January 2017.
I don't know her heart, and I don't pretend to be able to read anybody's mind, but she did seem sorrowful about it.
Tyson says following the release, the Justice Department subpoenaed his research in the spring of 2017. Today, the Justice Department says it's taking a deeper look into the case.
What is the point in trying to prosecute the wife at this late stage in her life? It's not going to bring Emmett Till back. It's not going to advance a measure of justice.
Now, Joyner says Bryant's confession is more about an accomplishment for Tyson than anything. Bryant denied an on-camera interview today. Live in Durham, I'm Derek Lewis, CBS 17 News.
Derek, thank you. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Emmett Till, we want to give you a look back at the moments that led to where we are right now.
The trial is moving along rather swiftly, and I do think that the attorneys working as hard as they are.
Secrets never rest easy. That holds true 6 decades later, as new evidence in the murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till have come to light. Till was viciously murdered for flirting with 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant. Till was beaten, shot, and tied to a cotton gin before being thrown into the Tallahatchie River in Mississippi. Till's mother held an open casket funeral, letting the world see the violence committed against her son while unknowingly starting a movement. A month after Till's body was pulled from the river, these two men, Roy Bryant, the husband of Carolyn Bryant, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam, were acquitted of murder by an all-white jury. This after witnesses identified the men and even after both men confessed to kidnapping Till. Through the years, 63 to be exact, many questions remained about Till's death. Many investigations and books were written searching for answers and uncovering new information as to why Till was targeted and killed. A confession by Carolyn Bryant Donham saying Till's advances were made up sparked a new round of questions, allowing the Department of Justice to take advantage of the Emmett Till Unsolved Civil Rights Crimes Act. The legislation named after Till allows the DOJ to investigate and prosecute criminal civil rights violations committed before 1980, resulting in death. Their hope to make the words of Emmett Till's mother prophetic.
That we're going to get results.
Now, once again, the Department of Justice has not released the new information they have obtained that led to them reopening this case. We will have continuing coverage of the investigation in Till's murder on our website, CBS17.com. And remember, you can get immediate links to the stories by liking our Facebook page and following CBS 17 on Twitter.
Chapel Hill police want to find whoever shot a 23-year-old man Wednesday night. Authorities say it happened just before 11 at the 1701 North Apartments. That's off MLK Jr. Boulevard near UNC's campus, rather. Investigators report multiple shots were fired and that victim is recovering from one gunshot wound. Authorities confirm the area is safe and this was an isolated incident.
If they see anything or hear anything that seems a little out of the ordinary, to get in touch with law enforcement as soon as possible and let us know, and get our officers there as quickly as possible to try to increase that safety in the community, no matter where it is in the community.
And to send them a tip, just call the Chapel Hill Crime Stoppers, the number right there on your screen. Selma police arrest a woman they say tied a puppy to a pickup truck and then drove around with it. This is Gloria Mitchell. Witnesses told police she dragged that puppy near the Knights Inn until it died. When authorities got to the scene, they say Mitchell was hostile and aggressive. According to the police report, her blood alcohol level was more than 4 times the legal limit. She's facing 2 charges and is currently being held in the Johnston County Jail. We will have much more on this story tonight at 11.
Continuing coverage tonight after 10 firefighters are charged with arson in Robinson County. We've learned local volunteer fire departments are free to hire whomever they please and that there are no mandatory training requirements or background checks.
CBS 17's investigative reporter Richard Essex even discovered some of those Robinson County firefighters had questionable records.
My search of the statewide court database uncovered that 4 of the 10 volunteer firefighters have had brushes with the legal system before. William Strickland pled guilty to misdemeanor larceny in 2017 and has another larceny case pending. The court records show that Jordan Scott is due in court later this month for misdemeanor larceny. He's also facing charges for carrying a concealed weapon and misdemeanor probation violation. He is due in court on those charges the second week of August. A judge convicted Austin Seth Hunt of misdemeanor hunting violations in 2017. More recently, New Year's Day of this year, Hunt had a driving while impaired charge dismissed. The court ordered him to pay court costs and fines. Ashley Marie Oxidine was charged with assault with a deadly weapon last summer. That case was dismissed without leave by the DA. According to the state fire marshal's office, background checks are done at the discretion of the local departments and are not required by the state. For CBS 17 investigators, Richard Essex, CBS 17 News.
Richard, thanks. New at 6, we have a crime alert tonight from Durham police. They tell us they've charged Myron Nunn for a bank robbery. Hillsborough police took him into custody on Tuesday. Investigators say Nunn walked into the First Citizens Bank and took money. He's in the Orange County Jail.
You may have seen people gliding in downtown Raleigh in Cameron Village on scooters recently.
One company dropped them off for a testing in the area. But as CBS 17's Michael Hyland explains tonight, city leaders say the company did not get the proper approval or the permits, Michael.
No, people in Raleigh get the first chance to test these out, but the company that put them here already wants to expand them to other cities in the Triangle. One thing that's got leaders in Raleigh concerned, though, is that the company didn't coordinate them with them first before dropping them off here. The company is called Bird. It's based in California and has placed scooters across the country. You download their app to locate a scooter and pay by the minute to use it. Some cities have ordered the company to remove them until they can get regulations in place. We talked to some people as they tested them out today, and some of them are concerned about safety.
The walkway right here is really bad. People don't stop. They don't respect pedestrians. So will they respect somebody on a scooter?
Leaders in Durham say Bird and 2 other companies have talked to them about placing scooters like these in the city. They asked the companies not to do that, though, until city council can weigh in, and that may not happen until later this summer or until early in the fall. Live in Raleigh, Michael Hyland, CBS 17 News.
And always wear your helmet like Michael. If you out there weren't, you only have one brain, got to protect it. Wake County leaders now have a plan to control the stink coming from a landfill. 2 sections of the landfill's gas collection system are not working properly. The county's working hard to get that fixed by tomorrow. We've learned the county signed contracts to expand the collection system, and they're expected to start that work next month. Construction should be complete in early fall.
When we last checked, a Fayetteville 2-year-old has remained in critical but stable condition after being pulled from a pool. That's great news. The child's family found the toddler unconscious at a home on Nathatch Road around 2 p.m. yesterday. They performed CPR on the child until the medics got there.
People could barely wait to get their hands on a good deal at Crabtree Mall.
Are you guys having fun?
Oh my, look at all those people, kids, even babies. Coming up, we'll explain how a special deal caused chaos at Build-A-Bear locations all across the country.
Plus, we'll take you to Johnson County, where there's a new push to get students to become teachers. We explain after the break.
And the cold front did move through, I promise. It didn't do a whole lot for us other than spark up some showers and storms. We're tracking these in southern Sampson County. I'll tell you how long they'll stick around and what to expect as we head into the weekend coming up in your forecast.
We are used to seeing lines of people wrapped around stores for deals around Christmas, but not typically in July.
No, from Chicago to the Mall of America in Minnesota to Washington State, people waited for a bargain today, including right here in North Carolina. The line of people stretched across the first floor of Crabtree Mall.
This is crazy. And as CBS 17's Lauren Haviland explains, it's all because of a bargain at Build-A-Bear.
Before Crabtree Valley Mall opened its doors, people started waiting in line for Build-A-Bear's promotion.
We got here at about 8:15, and if I had known I'd still be in line right now, I would not have stayed.
The one-day sale cost families only as much as their child's age.
Is it worth it standing in line all this time? It's for the kids, so yeah.
Just a few hours later, the line was hundreds deep, nearly wrapping around the entire first floor of the mall.
I don't think it was prepared.
Officials with the Raleigh Mall tell me it's a fluid situation. They expected a crowd, but not the amount that showed up.
Just not enough staff to handle people's emotions.
I think the security's done a great job. I've seen them out. They've been trying to control lines, trying to make sure people are staying where they're supposed to be.
In Fayetteville, more long lines.
Mall security keeps coming through and asking everyone to not block the stores, and it was kind of bad. It was not enjoyable.
In both cities, hundreds of children going home with a furry friend, while others walking away with a voucher for $15 off another day.
I have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and they all really wanted a bear, but it's not happening.
In Raleigh, Lauren Haviland, CBS 17 News.
I don't know if that little girl was crying because she didn't get the bear or because those lines were too long. Oh, well, if you did get a voucher, Build-A-Bear says it'll be honored through the end of August. I don't think I could do that.
No, that's a lot of waiting.
Well, leaders in Johnston County schools looking for a few good teachers.
But they're not waiting for them to apply for the job. As CBS 17's Holden Kowicki reports tonight, those officials are taking a more proactive approach.
Many local school districts already offer early college programs, but how many of them can guarantee that your child will have a job once they graduate from college? That's what Johnston County schools are doing with their new teacher track program that they hope will allow them to retain their best and brightest.
It's very exciting. We have students who want to give back to the community, they want to be in their community, and they want to find a way to provide that service.
Beginning their freshman year of high school, Johnston County students will have the ability to commit to the teacher track, which will provide hands-on training that connects them with internships, co-ops, and really begin to give them an understanding of what the district is all about.
We want to put them through our processes of leadership, curriculum development, communication, so when they come back, they're ready to work with others and to serve their community.
Teacher track students will be able to earn dual credit tuition-free courses from Johnston Community College that will earn them a free associate's degree that will transfer directly to NC State. However, there are still some details to work out in terms of the cost of tuition at NC State and a potential commitment students will have to make to teach in Johnston County.
Like every other district, we're a growing district, and we are always looking for bright and dedicated people who would like to come here and work with us. So it will be filling a need because Johnston County Schools is a growing, vibrant district.
Johnston County Schools hopes to launch this program by 2019 with as many as 50 new teachers graduating from NC State every year by 2023. From NC State, Holden Kowicki, CBS 17 News.
All right, Holden, let's turn on the radar. We've got a few showers and thunderstorms to talk about this evening. They are well south of the Triangle, down in southern parts of Sampson County, actually, south of Garland. Ivanhoe, you guys getting drenched right now. Heavy rain with thunder and lightning. Nothing has been severe, and at this point, I don't anticipate it, but some heavy rain will continue just for the southern tip of Sampson County. We go up the other way into Virginia. There's the state line. There's I-95. Roanoke Rapids, you guys about ready to get a little bit of rain. Again, nothing significant there, but those are the only two spots that we're keeping an eye on that have rain. And today, everyone got in on the cooler temperatures. Now, it wasn't cool and refreshing or anything like that, but remember yesterday, we were in the mid-90s. Today, many of us in the mid to upper 80s, and that's where many of us sit right now. So the temperatures went down. The humidity did not. And we had lots of cloud cover. That was one of the main reasons it was cooler today. Here's a look at the cloud cover. This is what it looked like over at the Carter Finley PNC campus. And as you can see, clouds in the morning time, clouds in the afternoon, and a few peaks of sun late in the afternoon. But otherwise, lots of clouds throughout the day today. Many of those clouds did not rain on us, and many of them will stay dry as we head into the weekend as well. For tonight, though, we'll keep an eye on really those two spots I just showed you, keeping small chances in the next couple of hours. As we drop down to 83 at 8 through the mid to low 70s late tonight, we'll keep it dry overnight, but those clouds will stick around. And as you leave for work and school tomorrow morning, 69 degrees is how your Friday morning begins. As for that humidity, remember earlier this week, the dew point temperature was way down here in the Pleasant Zone. Felt great, right? Well, it jumped into the low 70s today. That will come down tomorrow after the front has really had a chance to put its effects into North Carolina. So there it is right now, just to our south. That's the main reason why most of the showers and storms are to our south. This high pressure is going to try to nudge all of that down, and it'll be semi-successful tomorrow, although it will stay warm. It'll also be mostly dry. Then as we get into the weekend, high pressure shifts around a little, and that'll help set up a traditional summer-like pattern. So the weekend will be mostly dry, but those temperatures are slowly going to start to nudge up. And then we get into next week. High pressure scooches off to the east. That brings our winds more out of the south, gives us humidity. We've got highs in the low 90s, and we've got some afternoon storm chances. Typical afternoon storm chances. That's early next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But we also have another cold front showing up. That'll be here late in the week. This would be the 3rd July cold front. We're okay with that, right? So tomorrow's warm, but not oppressively hot and humid. Humidity will be a little lower. Temperatures will be a couple degrees higher. That'll be about 87 or 88 degrees down in the Sandhills. About the same along the I-95 corridor. And here in the Triangle, we'll stick with about 86 or 87 degrees, mid-80s along the Virginia border. Our rain chance tomorrow is only 10%, and we will keep it low as we head into the weekend. Saturday, 10%. Sunday, 20%. But notice our temperatures start to go up from 87 tomorrow to 92 on Sunday, but we'll hold it there in the low 90s most of next week. Overnight lows staying nice and muggy in the mid to low 70s next week. And then another cold front comes Wednesday into Thursday. It will bring us a slightly better chance of rain, but it's another cold front in July, so I think we're all okay with that. So remember the 96 we had yesterday, today 86. The rest of your 7-day forecast will have us in between those two temperatures for the next 7 days.
We're so close to the weekend.
Yes, we are.
Makes everything better.
Yes, Wes, thank you.
Time for sports, and we're talking lacrosse right now.
We are, and it's not just lacrosse here in the Triangle or here in the U.S. Some local athletes began a global competition today. We go out to Israel for highlights from the World Lacrosse Championships. Plus, we have news for the Tar Heel football team. Your team is going to line up against an SEC powerhouse in the very near future. We have those stories and more straight ahead. Welcome to the Honda Dealers of the Carolina Sports Desk. College football fans, this afternoon we got some news that won't impact this season or next season, but the year after that. When September 2020 rolls around, you'll think back to yourself and say, oh, I remember Jeff telling me about this. So years before you actually have that thought, let me go ahead and say, you're welcome. The big news, just a few hours ago, UNC announced they will line up against an SEC opponent, Auburn, in week 2 of the 2020 season. The Tar Heels and Tigers will play each other on September 12th in Atlanta. These two teams have faced each other 6 times in the past. Carolina has won 4 of those matchups, including the most recent showdown back in 2001. To lacrosse, not the college sport, but lacrosse on a global stage. Today was the first full day of the World Lacrosse Championships in Israel. 46 teams play in this tournament, including, of course, the USA. And on the sidelines for the American team, we saw a familiar face. Duke head coach John Danowski is leading the red, white, and blue. On the field, one of his former college stars shows us that he's still got it. Jordan Wolf delivered one of those goals that you have to see from a few angles to fully appreciate. Check out the replays. The former Blue Devil went parallel to the ground for the score. The U.S. actually trailed their opponents at halftime, but our guys must have been singing the Star-Spangled Banner, America the Beautiful, or something during the break, because they outscored their opponents 12-2 in the second half and walked away with a 17-9 win. They'll play again Saturday against Australia. Now to one of the best local events that will take place this weekend, a football camp food drive. Coleman and Shavar Tyrants are local athletes turned coaches who are hosting this camp for the 10th straight year. In addition to a small fee, athletes at this camp are asked to bring 5 canned goods that will be donated to families in need.
I think what people forget about is a lot of these students who aren't in school, when they go to school, that lunch that's being served, that breakfast that's being served, a lot of these kids are relying on that. But these kids who aren't going to school aren't getting these meals. So we're doing our part as far as showing what we believe in as far as football is great, but there's a other side of it too.
There definitely is another side of it. So very cool that they're teaching lessons on and off the field in that camp. That camp takes place all day Saturday. It's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can find the details and how to sign up on my Twitter page at Jeff Jones Sports.
That is fantastic to see them doing that.
Jeff, thanks. How about a final look at weather?
Yeah, weekend looks dry for that camp, but it is not dry right now in southern Sampson County. Some heavy showers, thunderstorms in and around the Ivanhoe area. Nothing severe, but we'll keep an eye on those for you. Drier weather, as I said, the next few days, but we've also got plenty of 90s coming. Low 90s, though, in the 7-day, not mid and upper 90s.
All right, Wes, thank you. We'll see you back at 11.